Tim, I'm looking at you. It's
What's up?
Tuesday night. Obviously,
Yeah.
I know you're
Yeah.
thrilled because the koala bear hit a dong last night.
Polar
Yeah,
went
you were so excited.
116 exit velo.
I
For
know.
those of you who don't know what that means, that exit velocity, my man.
Which is a meaningless statistic. One of these
agree.
made-up baseball
Worthless.
stats that nobody
Worthless.
cares about. But
Yeah.
but that's not why
All
you're
right.
smiling.
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
that. What's going on with you?
Well, no, I got a funny story, dude. I did something today that I haven't done in my 54 years on the planet, but not even in my heyday of listening to radio. So this morning I went out. This is, I live in the burbs now. I mean, this is what I do. I get in the car, not to commute, but just to get out the house to get a coffee at 7-Eleven. And I was going to the ATM this morning, but I'm in my car. I'm doing morning radio show, listening to BAB. Babylon, man. BAB and Babylon, man. That's what they do. Great rock and roll station. And I hear they're doing one of these contests that they do in the morning. And they're giving some prize. I don't even know what it is, but you got to come up with the top 10 iconic lead-in guitar riffs in rock and roll history. So give me one. Give me,
Well, I'll give you mine. First of all, WBAB, I believe, is 102.3 on your dial.
102.3 on your dial.
We should tag them in this video because I know they're huge fans of the show.
They're big fans of the show, and they're going to be excited to know that the guy that called in and made a you-know-what out of himself this morning. But I'll finish the story. I want to hear.
So here you go. I'll give
what's your number one?
The greatest lead into a rock and roll song is Zeppelin's first album, Good Times, Bad Times. I heard that for the first time, I think, when I was 13 years old, 12 years old, and I was like, what is that? Good Times, Bad Times, Zeppelin.
Dude,
go.
Look, I like the song. Didn't even make the top 10. One Zeppelin song made the top 10, and it's
Whole lot of love. 100%.
All right.
I mean, I could do the top 10 of just Zeppelin songs, but go ahead.
Well,
let me hear a couple of yours.
All right. So I'm thinking, and I wasn't necessarily ranking them, but so I was trying to get 10 songs together because this is what I thought they wanted from me. So I'm calling, I'm driving, almost driving off the road. I get to my ATM and I'm getting busy signals, and there's like a line queuing up behind me. I'm like doing the drive-through ATM and busy. And I'm trying to, and finally I get through and my heart's beating, man. My wrists my palms are sweaty. And I say, hey, it's Tim Seymour. Money for Nothing, Dire Straits, Beast of Burden, Rolling Stone. The guy's like, stop it, you only get one. And he hangs up on me. You're wrong. And he hangs up on me with a total like Guido accent. And he's like, hey, you got nothing. And I'm like, man, I blew it. I was like embarrassed.
You got to be cooler than that. You got to really just ratchet down the emotion, but that's okay. It's all right.
Once you go from, and anyone out there who's been through this, once you go from the busy signal to, oh my God, it's ringing. I'm coming up. And so he's like, BAB, what are your names? And I'm like, and so first of all, Dire Straits, Money for Nothing. Anyway, that wasn't it. They hated the fact that I started to give more names. They hung up on me. So I'm disgraced. I'm driving home. I'm drinking my coffee. And then they come back from a commercial break and like, okay, we're back. And here are some of the contestants coming in. They like, hey, it's Vinny from Babylon. How about the Stones? Stop me up. I'm like, ding. And so Vinny gets that one right. And then they play. He's like, hey, it's Tim Seymour. Money for Nothing, Dire Straits. And then he cuts me off. He's like, yeah, did you hear that guy? He tried to give me a whole list of songs. And that's what's wrong about radio contests these days. It's guys like that. And he went on for 5 minutes saying how I had screwed up the whole.
But now he's going to feel like a bit of a Johnson when he realizes who you are.
Well,
and they might have you back tomorrow just to do your top 10 for a half an hour.
Well, I'd like that. And I think my top 10 was probably the right top 10. But who am I to say? Of course, guys, man.
Hold on a second. Of course you do. Of course you do. Your top 10 is the top 10.
Well, actually, Beast of Burden's got to be there. But it was Start Me Up. And it was Sweet Child of Mine. I think number 1 was Ozzy, and then 2 was Layla, Derek and the Dominoes. So let's save this for the rest of later on while we're talking here. But while we're on this, so let's do this. So we've got a huge earnings day on Thursday.
Right.
Give me what is effectively the lead-in, that the metaphor for what is the iconic guitar lead-in that you want to hear from Apple. That's going to make you stay with this stock and say, you know what, the tech rally stays on. What do you need to hear to not switch the radio station.
So I know you're looking for one thing. I'm going to give you a three-fer.
Okay.
I'm looking for
Three for
where
madness.
are they in a 5G rollout? What percentage of revenue is consumer products? And what's the situation? You know, I'm worried about the China situation. I mean, is China a big deal or is it not a big deal? So those are the three things that I'd be listening for.
You want to hear them address it, and if that's the case, you know, Apple's in the top 10. They're probably they're the equivalent of Stairway to Heaven. I can't believe that didn't make it. That was actually going to be my answer, but when I heard,
well, there's no lead in there. I mean, there's no lead.
No, but
so I mean,
but,
the
chords,
guitar lead is amazing, but the lead in is not there.
All right, I was already embarrassed once today. All right, so
I'm sorry.
So for me on Thursday, it's Amazon, and you know what I want to hear in that earnings, the headlines I want to see hit the tape when I want to hear them talking about it. First of all, I want to hear that AWS growth isn't slipping below 40%. I want to hear that the growth engine for this, that's been part of the whole reason they're getting this multiple, is not falling into just a dogfight of competition that we know is there with Google and Microsoft and maybe even a Red Hat at IBM. But think about the cloud. Two, I want to hear that actually they're reinvesting. I want to hear a little bit about some of their infrastructure and fulfillment and how these guys put themselves so far ahead of everybody. There have been times we've wanted to hear them say they're profitable, and there's times we've wanted to hear them talking about reinvesting. If there was ever a time for these guys to dig in and actually not be worried about profitability when every other company in the world is getting a mulligan, it's now. And finally, let's hear if they talk about Walmart and Walmart Plus, and are they concerned about someone coming into same-day groceries? I think, you know, if I'm hearing those things and I'm hearing the right answers, and I'm hearing the right answers out of Apple as well, I got to tell you, man, this is sweet music, and I think the rally in tech stocks goes on.
And I agree with that. So look, I know you're dying to talk about this. Your Mets got off a bit of a schneid. Big win last night in Boston. Yeah. Good for them. Yeah. But you want to know what's wrong with the Mets, and actually in a nutshell, and I'll give it to you.
Why are we doing this?
No, because it's important. I think the folks at home need to know this. On Sunday, the guy pitching for, I think it's Sean Newcomb. Was that who was on the hill for the Braves? I think that's his name.
Okay.
So the first 11 of the 13 pitches,
he couldn't hit the side of a barn.
He couldn't hit sand if he jumped out of a lifeguard chair. Okay, I mean, it was brutal.
Where do you get these metaphors, man?
And then Yoenis steps to the dish.
Easy. Yeah.
You know, he's up 3-0 in the count, right? And he swings 3-0. Now, I will tell you, this is just my opinion. And again, full disclosure, I hate everything Met, but Yoenis Cespedes has not earned the right to swing 3-0 as a New York Met. Your thoughts?
The guy hit a dong on opening day, a big fly, as we say. He went yard. As far as I'm concerned, his bat speed, that's right, he punished that baseball. As far as I'm concerned, we green light him. Look, the rest of the team, we really hadn't seen the bats, and we know that this is a lengthy lineup in Flushing. But look, the bats hadn't really awoken. So look, on that, when I say, give me, this is one that you're going to get. Okay. When I say sweet talking lady with a face like a gent.
Sweet talking lady with a face like a gent. Her get up and go kind of got up and went. It's Aerosmith. It's Sweet Emotion. It's a great song. That's when Aerosmith was Aerosmith, not that 80s garbage and then the 90s stuff. I mean, Sweet Emotion is Aerosmith at their pinnacle. They should have stopped there.
Isn't that Walk This Way?
Oh, you know what? You might be right. Look at me. Now I'm feeling like I'm feeling like a jerk.
That's all right. It's all right. You know, that was, I think, a top 10. And if it wasn't, it should be. Smitty, I know you happen to love those guys. I think they're one of the most overrated bands in history, which may be one of our top.
Joe Perry's a big fan of the show as well. So, we should probably tag him anyway.
Well, Andy Hilfiger actually handles Steven Tyler's fashion line. So, Andy, love what you're doing. Steven, very fashionable. Walk This Way, top 10 guitar lick. Guy, I'll see you tomorrow.
Later. Go Mets.